Developing Yourself and Others by 9 Dots Development. Introducing Bev Holloway and Kerry Clarkson to talk about coaching.
Hello, my name's Kerry Clarkson. I'm the trainer here at 9 Dots Development.
And I'm Bev Holloway. I'm Head of Learning Solutions here.
Today we're going to be talking about coaching. So Bev, you told me about an article that you read recently.
Yeah, it's a Forbes article by Zahaid Butt.
Yeah.
And it was called What is Coaching? And I think it was really ideal to kind of use as a bit of a discussion point there, because I think people often find coaching a bit difficult. It often gets misconstrued for training, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually, because people think could sometimes come out of a coaching session, and I think that was really good. I've learned a lot of new stuff there. And that's not what coaching is. Coaching is actually where you already know something and it's being pulled out of you, isn't it?
Yeah, you're trying to get the insight from them. You're trying to sort of change their thinking, move their thinking, really.
Right.
And yeah, it's quite different to, say, counselling. Counselling is where it's much more of a kind of personal issue maybe somebody's trying to work through.
Yes.
And often with a sort of professional counsellor who's well qualified in that. And it gets mixed up with, well, mentoring.
Yeah, because we were talking about this the other day, where mentoring and coaching, people really get them confused, because mentoring is looking at something really that is new to you, and you wanted to be directed in potentially a new department. You're shadowing somebody in a new area of interest for you.
Like the mentor gives you some advice and their sort of knowledge about things, their career advice, that kind of stuff. So they impart knowledge and sort of their learning to you. But coaching, and Zahaib said it's not telling.
Yeah.
And then you had a thing from Sir John Whitmore.
That's it. Yeah. It's about really making sure, because the person already knows the information.
Yeah.
So it's about helping the person to learn as opposed to teaching them.
Yeah, that's what you said, didn't you?
So unlocking their potential, because they already know it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between the training and the coaching. Yeah. The training is when you're new to a role, you don't know what you don't know, so you're being taught that.
Yeah.
Whereas coaching, you've had the training.
Yeah. And I think my personal experience of being coached in the moment by my manager was years ago, when I used to say, I had a task to do, and I said, how do I do this? And usually they tell me, and then this one time they said, how do you think you would do it? And I kind of looked at them and said, don't you know how to do it? You're the manager, you're supposed to know these things. And I said, I think I should do it like this. And they said, okay, go away and do it. So I went away and did it. And then next time I said, how do you think I should do this? And they said, how do you think you should do it? And it's like, I think I should do it like this, this and this. And I said, go away and do it, and I did it.
Yeah.
And the third time I realised actually I did know the stuff. So when I was going to do something, I kind of said, I'm thinking of doing it like this. And they were saying, and then trying to draw me out with some more questions to get me to think about it. So
that's good.
But it's weird when you're in that kind of moment, isn't it? As the person being coached there, you don't necessarily realise it if your manager's not being really overt with that.
Yeah, because I can imagine if the tone of voice and the way, if they're saying no, you go and find it out yourself.
Yes.
You'd be thinking, it's a bit dismissive, or a bit like, right, they don't care. But actually, it takes a lot of effort and energy. I don't know how you feel about not to give somebody the answer.
Yeah. Really, it really does. Like, the thing is, as managers, what we're here to do is absolutely solve problems, and telling people, giving them direction. That's the best way to do it. Somebody asks you something, you can give them the answer, but actually, they're not going to learn if you don't start asking them questions. And it is about powerful questions.
Yes.
And there's a model by Sir John Whitmore, the GROW model, which really ostensibly talks about questions and is about in a framework going through those types of questions. But there's lots of types of questions, aren't there?
Well, there's so many, and it's using the right questions at the right time is the key. And there's open questions, there's closed questions, there's probing questions, and each has their own place in that conversation. Whether you're opening the conversation up and you can ask a question, and sit back and let that person talk. And again, as a manager and a leader, it's challenging sometimes to try and keep quiet while somebody else is talking, especially if you haven't the answer.
So an open question is like, gives you the open answer. They usually start with what, why, how, those kind of things. But I don't know, sometimes the open questions are pretend open questions when actually you're given an instruction like, don't you think you should do it like this?
Yes. Bit more directional than an open question.
Why don't you think you should do it like this? And again, it's that kind of manager in you just trying to direct somebody. But the thing is with the open questions, it really gives that open answer. And then you can, like you said, probing question, kind of go a bit more deeply on what's the topic, what's the issue that they're trying to deal with.
Because Zahaib said it's about creating their own path, creating these possibilities. And if we don't give them the opportunity to think for themselves and to think of these options and ideas themselves, they're not creating their own path. They won't have the ownership of that because we've put it on them.
We're still guiding them down that path, aren't we? Or leading them maybe. So it is about absolutely just making sure that you're doing coaching, but you can do coaching in the moment like we discussed earlier, or maybe you can do coaching sort of more as a career, like, you know, Zahaib was maybe suggesting that. But coaching just doesn't have to be sort of this one session that you do, you know. It can be, like we said, in the moment, a question, or it can be that longer kind of conversation with someone.
Absolutely, and it's listening to what that person says as well. It's the questions are vital, but only if you're listening to what the information they're going to give you back.
Because it is about showing you're listening.
How can you tell that I'm listening to you now? You know, it's
I don't know. How can you tell? Who said that? No, you can't, but you can tell because, you know, there's the eye contact, there's the nodding, there's those sort of non-verbal cues. But there's also, you know, when you're coaching, you reflect back. Maybe they've said something and you reflect it back to kind of challenge them on that, on what they've said. So it's really important. So the powerful questions and the active listening, and being able to come up with a good question that again helps move that person on.
Because it's about inspiring that behavioural change in them, isn't it? And by asking the questions, by actively listening, we can then support that person to create their own future. And create their own path and have that behavioural change.
And that's what Zahaib said. It's inspiring behavioural change. And so I just would like you to think, you know, who are you going to inspire through coaching, or who are you going to be inspired by being coached? So the best of luck with that.